want them. What's the problem? Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. Right now, we're being conditioned. This is part of that social engineering we've discussed before. But we've been conditioned to believe that our children are never safe. We can't possibly even be good parents anymore unless we're helicopter parents. We got to be just hovering nearby. Oh, little Jeffy, I'm so sorry that you don't know the answer to your math homework. Let me tell you the answer real quick, and then you can figure out how to get there later. Oh, little Jeffy, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with these mean people that expect you to go to work every day. Yeah, that's right. Jeffy is 18 and has to go to work now, and Jeffy still needs Mommy to hold his hand. I mentioned before that I'm currently a hiring manager, and I've been a manager that's done a lot of hiring in previous positions as well. And I kid you not, I have had some of these helicopter parents actually come in to the interview with their kids and expect to actually sit at the interview and try to answer questions for them. I've had that happen. I've seen the result. Now, this current generation, the youngest group of folks in there, they're capable of multitasking at a level you couldn't possibly imagine. They've become so adept to the use of all this technology that they can tweet while they're sending text to somebody, and they can be tweeting on Twitter, and they can be watching television, and they're collecting all this information. Their brain is capable of multitasking. They're wired that way because they get accustomed to it. But they're not capable of handling simple things like, how do I dress myself? And by that I don't mean they can't put their own clothing on. I mean they can't pick out their outfit. They don't know how to dress appropriately for whatever the situation is. Does this match? Does this go together? Should I wear this? For example, am I going to a job interview? Perhaps I should put on something slightly more impressive than my old t-shirt and some ripped up jeans. Happens a lot. But now we've been conditioned to believe that we can't possibly be good parents if we expect our children by an age of 9 and 10, to actually have some level of independence. I've spent a lot of time trying to teach my youngest daughter to take on more responsibility. And unfortunately, some of it's taken and some of it hasn't. But that's the struggle of being a parent. You know, when you have so many children, you get to see a wide range of things taking place. But the bottom line is, something that was commonplace a decade and a half ago, suddenly we've been led to believe that it's criminal to allow it to happen now. First of all, when I was young, police officers, if they came across you and they thought there was something wrong, the first thing they asked is, where are your parents? Okay, where do you live? That was the steps they take, not, well, your parents are irrelevant. If they're not around here, we don't have to contact them until it's time for us to charge them. The question is, what do you guys think? I don't think that this is a case of neglect. I think this is a case of parents that are genuinely trying to teach their kids a sense of independence, a sense of being able to operate on your own, and that's helpful later on when you get into the real world. The more you coddle these kids, the less they're capable of dealing with things. You want to know why bullying is such a big deal for kids in school today? Because nobody's teaching them how to deal with real life things. These parents, these kids aren't going to be bothered by bullies. And that's not to say that somebody isn't going to try to bully them. They may very well. But these kids, they're going to have been taught enough independence and enough self-reliance that a bully isn't going to push them to crying in the corner and talking about suicide. We have turned an entire generation of Americans into wimps and wusses. Crybabies. that whine that if they just don't get their way about something, that suddenly all of life isn't fair. Well, you're right. Life isn't fair. And whoever told you it was supposed to be was a liar. So is this a criminal offense? I would love for you guys to give me feedback. You feel free to send me an email if you'd like to make a comment to ttap@tapintothetruth.com, or you can go to the website at tapintothetruth.com, go down close to the bottom of the home page. You can send me a comment there. Be happy to check those out, and we can discuss it further. Quality comments I will probably mention, because this is a story I will be talking about again on Sunday. Be sure to tune in to the Sunday show, by the way. Yeah, I don't understand. How did we get there? How did we get here from where we were? Again, where's the common sense? Why are we paying for cops and child protective services to harass people that are in a situation where all they're doing is having their kids walk in a safe neighborhood instead of having them out doing their jobs? Speaking of which, when we come back, about to take a break, we're going to talk about another terrible cop story. I mean, there's been some really bad ones breaking this past week. These are the kind of things that give police officers a black eye. But we'll talk about the big one that was making the rounds today on social media when we get back. In the meanwhile, stay with me, and we will be right back. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thanks for staying with me. And like I promised before I left, we're going to go right into this next story because time is slipping away. Did you see it today? That's my question. All over social media today. I first came across it at Mashable.com. You may have seen it just about everywhere else. This was on Fox News before the end of the day. It's been all over the place. Evidently, a police officer in Marianna, Arizona, actually rammed directly into a gun-toting robbery suspect with his patrol car in a rather graphic dash cam video release. Now, this was released back on Tuesday, and it's been cleared. The police officer was cleared of any wrongdoing, according to the Associated Press. Something tells me that might change after the public reaction to this video, because it is very graphic if you haven't seen it. Now, the suspect was a Mario Valencia, who actually survived the crash. It actually took place back on February 19th. And he faces several felony charges, including assault on an officer, robbery, and arson. Now, the video was recorded by two separate police cars who were initially slowly trailing Valencia. And in the footage from one car, he appears to actually fire his rifle into the air while walking along the side of the street before another patrol car speeds towards the sidewalk from behind and plows into him, sending him flying. Now, again, like I said, you can find this video just about anywhere. At Mashable.com, they actually have both dash cam videos that you can watch. But it brings to light a much deeper question. You know, again, we're talking about what's our tax dollars paying for is kind of the overall theme of today, since it is April 15th, and it is the last day to file your taxes without penalty. But, you know, depending on where you're at, it's really easy to get a negative view of the police. You know, we've all had run-ins with a guy on a power trip who has a badge that probably shouldn't have one. I mean, if you've been alive more than 20 years, you've had a run-in with at least one. It's unavoidable. It happens. People with that kind of attitude gravitate towards that kind of a job. The problem is that these don't make up the majority of police officers, but these do make up the majority of the stories we hear about them. It's not really news when a cop shows up and then does the job he's supposed to. You know, comes in, treats you with respect, behaves professionally, then either gives you your warning or your ticket if one is warranted, or arrests you if you've got warrants or what have you. He just does his job. No excessive force, no craziness, no shooting you in the back while you try to jog/run away. Nothing like that. But then you have occasions where certain police officers go way over the top. And it just gives a black eye to the rest of the police. Police officers are doing a hard job. And part of what makes it so hard is the fact that there is a standard in place. In order to be a good cop, you have to hold yourself to a very high standard. And we, as the public that employs these police officers to serve and protect us, the innocent among us, need to also hold them to a high standard. But we need to also be very careful about how judgmental we are, because it's not a job that we would want to do. It's not a job I would want to do. And most of the people that I know wouldn't want to be a police officer. I couldn't be a good officer. I would lose my temper. I would do things that I keep saying we need to hold the standard higher. That's why I don't do it. I love the idea of being involved with upholding the law and preserving the peace. I would love to think that I would be really good at it. But I know that as far as a uniformed officer running a beat and dealing with what they have to deal with personality-wise and criminal-wise on a daily basis, I couldn't keep my cool. And since I'm not particularly physically imposing, I would probably be going for the taser and then going for the gun quite a bit. That's part of how I know that law enforcement was not the right path for me. And anybody else that gets involved with this, you have to think the same thing. So before we start condemning all police officers, because I've seen so much cop bashing in the social media the last several days. I mean, ever since the South Carolina shooting. Actually, it was North Carolina, I'm sorry. Ever since the North Carolina shooting, there's been a ton of police bashing, more so than usual. And that's because everybody can agree that that was over the top and should have never happened. This guy should have never had a badge. Now, I don't understand in what universe it's okay to use your patrol car to smash into somebody in order to subdue them. So this Arizona video, it is very shocking. If you haven't seen it, like I said, I suggest you go take a look at it. You can find it at foxnews.com. It's all over the internet now. It would be hard for you to miss. It was going everywhere. I found it at mashable.com. I found it fairly early over there. I don't know if they were the first one to have it, but I do know they're one of the few that has the dash cam from both police cars. The one that sees the guy